What up, Neek? Hey, do you know what Bill Russell once said about Bob Pettit?
Probably, but what'd he say?
He said they made up the term second effort to describe Bob Pettit. What's up, y'all? We are the Hoopstorians. I am Tony Styles. That man over there is Unique. Let's get into NBA history. NBA history, April 2nd, 1975. Buffalo's Bob McAdoo was awarded the MVP honors for the 75 season. McAdoo led the NBA at almost 35 points a game. Where would you rank Bob McAdoo in the annals of great Bobs? We got Bob Pettit. We got Bob Cousy. We got Bob Ferry. We got Bob McAdoo.
He's the top five Bob.
He's a top five Bob. How
He's
come
the
do you
top
think?
five Bob.
How come do you think more people don't put more respect on McAdoo's name? Some guy that could average 35. Because I mean, you remember how many people were going crazy when Harden was averaging 36? Well,
Mhm.
McAdoo was averaging 35 with no 3-point line. How come you think more people put more respect on Bob McAdoo's name?
Probably because of the time, the era. Like it's easier if we're talking about an era before the 3 point line. It's easier for players or not players. It's easier for fans who haven't done any research, haven't done any history, haven't met a historian, and they haven't actually seen what was going on back there. Everybody doesn't go back into the past and see who was great back in the day. So I think that has something to do with it. Less exposure for players back then. So I think it's easy to forget players from that time.
Quick question. We are so big now. You see, we do it all the time on this show. We are so big into rankings now. How can you even do a ranking without going back into the past and seeing what the options are?
I mean, you can't. I mean, that's the reason why we dig into the past because we do a lot of rankings, so we don't mind it. But everybody, like for instance, look at the wave. We're done with the 90s. So that's kind of letting you know the kind of mentality that people have, whereas they don't really want to do research and they don't really want to see things from the past, or maybe they have no interest. So a person that doesn't have an interest in the past probably doesn't have a place in trying to talk about stats and talk about the grades or things like that, but you can still be a fan. But yeah, you can't just get rid of the past if you want to be the type of person that wants to talk about who the ultimate greats are. You can't forget an era.
No, that was this day in NBA history. All right, so this episode, we have a Fluent and Chill coming on. They will be on the channel here. I don't know when. I know they're doing their Fluent and Chill episode, so they will be on at some point. Um, Earlier today, I did talk with Bob Pettit. What was I going to say? Real quick question. You got any thoughts on Bob Pettit real quick before I get into it?
Yeah, I mean, Bob Pettit is the quintessential. He's like the ultimate power forward. Bob Pettit was the ultimate double double guy. I mean, when we talk about, I don't want to say trendsetters, but when we talk about pa- trailblazers, that's what I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to say. When we're talking about trailblazers, he's one. He he was the ideal power forward. He was somebody that when you want to play that position, this is what you want to do. We're talking about a man who prided himself on chasing down rebounds, a man who's averaging over 20 for his whole career because he's getting so many offensive rebounds. He's getting defensive too, but he's doing a lot of putbacks on offensive. So he's showing you how a player can realistically average over their career 20 and 10 just by banging on the boards, just by being in a good position. So when I think about Bob Pettit, I think of somebody who was typically in the right position, somebody who is out there to play on his strengths versus exposing his own weaknesses, if that makes any sense.
No, 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 definitely. So I do want to say this about the interview. Fluent put the interview on our studio in here, and I'm not sure where he put it. So I But I'm saying, I mean, I start clicking on things and we see what videos pop up. I'm just not sure which one it is. So he was actually supposed to be playing it and all that. But like I said, I know they got their show going on right now. So just to let you guys know, what happened is I sent Bob, I got in contact with Bob. We did do the interview. I had to call his house. It is over the phone. It is a little scratchy. I had to literally take my phone, put it up to my laptop and speaker like that. So I do apologize if there's anything he quite can't understand or whatever. But Bob Pettit will be 92 this year. He wasn't doing no virtual studio with us. He wasn't clicking no links. He just said you can call the house and we'll do the show.
The simple
Anything.
man. Hey, I like it.
Hey, there's
Super
a prominent
simple.
song. I know there's a big funeral song called "Simple Man" that a lot of people play at their funeral. So maybe that is Bob Pettit and all that.
I'm gonna do a
Real
Bob
quick.
Pettit song. I'm gonna do a Bob Pettit song. I'm inspired now. Probably
So
even more
yeah,
so after the interview.
yeah, one of only 4 guys to have a 2020 season in their career. Guys like Wilt. Let's see. Let me see if I can name them. Let's see. There was Wilt. Wasn't there Walt Bellamy, or did he average 19.5 rebounds? So Wilt, Walt, Bob Pettit, and what, Jerry Lucas? I believe those are the 4 with the 2020 in their career. I could be wrong.
That's
But
hard. I said that's hard. 20 and 20. I know I was just talking about how Bob Pettit showed people how to do the 20 and 10, but
right.
20 and 20.
Okay, I had it wrong.
That's
Bellamy averaged like 19 rebounds, and Thurman was the 20 and 20 guy. So, because I know Walt Bellamy had a season where he was like 31 and 19, but I always forget if it's 31 and 20 or whatever. So yeah, let me see if I can find this interview while we're waiting on Fluent and Chill to join us, and then we'll get into it, and then we'll talk about it. So let's see if this is it. Nope, that ain't it either. So yeah, as of right now, I am trying to get a hold of Fluent as we speak, so we can get this interview up and running. But I don't know where this. What about this one? Let's try this one. Nope, that ain't it either. Yeah, I don't know where this interview's at. So the interview is somewhere here in the studio. Uh, uh, Fluent has posted a clip of the interview on his TikTok right now, where Bob did address what JJ Redick said about those players being like plumbers and firemen and all that.
Ooh, JJ Redick don't want it with Bob Pettit.
Okay, so just to give you a heads up, Fluent texted me 3 minutes ago. He said he will be here in 5 minutes, so he should be here in 2 minutes, and then we'll start the interview. Then. In the meantime, bro, you want to talk about anything in the current NBA to kill some time till we get here, so I can get this
Luka
interview.
just got smacked in the face by Draymond.
Draymond ain't gonna stop, is he? Hey, ever since
Oh wait,
Draymond went
hold on. Is it Dre? Yeah, it is Dre. Is it Dre? Who smacked him? It's Dre. Dre smacked him. Go ahead, my bad.
No, I was gonna say ever since Draymond has gone gray and went to Graymond, tell me he ain't more wild this season. Has he been this great last season? Was he?
Hey, you know what's funny to me? What's funny to me is after the incident with Nurkic, when they talked to KD and he was supposedly gonna get like some help and stuff, and KD was like, "Yeah, he needs it." The fact that he got offended by that, you know how toxic and how torn and how broken you gotta be to be offended by somebody telling you need help.
Yeah, man, I don't know.
I guess in context that could be all bad, but when you're on suspension for your behavior and somebody say you need help, I don't think that's a time for you to get offended. Maybe that's a time for introspection. Like maybe you need to look inward.
I agree. What's up, boss? What's up, Fluent?
Why not?
What's good, y'all?
Not much. Chill joining us too, still or no?
Yeah. I just sent them the link. He'll be here momentarily. We ran a little long with Fluent and Chill.
Yeah, no.
Our apologies.
Yeah, we've been trying to kill the time or whatever. I was looking for the video of the interview, but I couldn't find it. So I said you were coming with it.
I am coming with it. It is here. Chill. Let me just make sure he got it because I know we played my favorite clip about him saying JJ is stupid. It's my favorite. I think I played it twice. I can't watch it enough. I cannot watch it enough. He seems like really into it for what is it, 91?
He'll be 92 in December, yeah.
Damn. I was saying I wish I was that I wish I was like that coherent.
In tune with things, yeah. No, I'll tell you this much. I'm gonna tell you this much. I can't sing Bob's praises enough. When I initially hit him up, he never asked me, well, how many subscribers do you got? How big are you? He just said, hey, I'll do it. Call me back whenever next week. I got some time then. He was going through some issues with his family, and he said, "Hey, I'm going through some, so call me back then." And then today, he called me to let me know that, hey, I got a meeting or whatever. I'm going to be a little late. I'll give you a call. And he called me when he got that done. So as far as my experience with Bob Pettit, he's a real stand-up guy. Says what he's going to do. I get it. Life happens. Something gets in the way. He lets you know. He keeps you in the loop. So I got nothing but great things to say about Bob, and especially since he's our first basketball player on the show.
Hey, listen, it's that old school mentality. You say you do what you say what you do, you mean what you say. That's something we've lost. We've lost in today's society a little bit. So we could probably, I don't know, like I said, he'll be with us momentarily. But you want to maybe what I thought we could do is play the interview, and then maybe at moments you can just let me know we can stop it. Oh, look at that. Speak of the devil. We stopped the. There he is. Oh, you let him in. You let him in. I kicked him out.
Yeah, something like that.
All right. How's it going, Jay?
I'm pissed, man.
Oh yeah, I know you are.
Man, I wanted to be there for that. I so wanted to talk to Bob Pettit. How dope is that? I got to talk to Bob. It's like having to be in school late, and then like that favorite uncle.
Nick missed it too.
I didn't get to talk to him.
Well, wait a minute. I got good news for you guys though. I got Bobby Dandridge next week. Are y'all going to be able to make it to that one? Because that's my favorite play. That's my favorite player from the 70s.
Nice.
I love Greyhounds.
That's your favorite player from the 70s.
Well, here I'm going to tell you this much. My favorite player of all time is Larry Johnson. I don't like going with what the masses do. I like finding my own little niche. Like, for example, we done with the 90s, right? On this show, I don't talk about current hoops all the time. I talk about old hoops. I like finding my niche. I like going with my flow. I like going with my thing. So yeah, Bob Pettit was my. I created this. I came up with the idea of this show is because I'm tired of the disrespect Bob Pettit gets. Nobody remembers him. Nobody knows who he is. The dude averaged 26 and 16 for his career. That's a good game. That's an MVP season. And 26 and 16 for your career is you and Wilt Chamberlain. And that's it.
And by the way, I didn't quit because I had to. I quit because I got a better job. Like, he was 32 years old when he quit. He went to work in a bank. That's why
he was all NBA second team.
Yeah, he didn't quit because I can't play no more. I'm still nice. I'm still better than most of the people here. But again, this was during that time when these guys weren't getting paid as nearly as much as they get paid today. So he ended up getting offered a better job. And like Tony and I talked about earlier today, well, shit, if you get paid, you get offered a better job more times than not. What are you going to do? You're going to take the better job. 32 years old, I get to work in a bank. I'm going to go take that job. But I mean, to talk about Bob Pettit, like quote unquote plumber, you clearly don't know anything about basketball to talk about. I mean, first league MVP in NBA history. Not only the first league MVP in NBA history, he was the all-time leading scorer in NBA history when he retired. Nobody else did that, right? So he's one of 3 guys in NBA history to be back-to-back All-Star Game MVP. Jabal can't say that. Jordan can't say that. None of them dudes can say that. He did that though. Add that to the fact that there's only 2 dudes in NBA history to score 50 in the closeout game in the NBA Finals. That's Giannis and him. That's it. Can't nobody else say that.
The majority of them points in that final few, like that closeout. You feel me?
Right.
And he grabbed 19 rebounds when he dropped 50 and 19.
50 and 20, basically. That's what I did. 50 and 20. So
you know what I like about Bob, and I don't mean to cut nobody off. What I like about him is the heart. We talk about this often, Tony, when we be talking about like the heart of a player and like just the grit and everything. That's when I talk like that. That's what I'm referring to. I'm referring to that type of player who realizes his weaknesses and is like, you know what? I'm gonna focus on what my strength is, and I'm gonna make sure that translates into victories. Yeah. He wasn't the most athletic, but what he figured it out. I'm not the best handler, so what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna run and I'm gonna crash these boards. So stuff like that, like by any means, and that's what I like about him.
So you guys want to FYI? You said Larry Johnson's your favorite player all time?
Of all time, yeah.
I'll let you know. We've been going back and forth for about 6 months with Larry, because he wants to come on, but it's just scheduling, whatever. But I don't want to say the whole story, but I'll let you know when he's coming on.
Hey, I'm gonna put it this way: you're off my Christmas list if you don't get me on that episode.
I will bring you. I will bring you on. I'll bring you on. All right. So we want to dive into it. What I was thinking, Jay, just before you came on, I said we'll play it, and then like just raise your hand if you want to stop and comment, and then we'll stop, and then we can talk about some of the stuff that he says. So
we have one of the greatest players of all time today. We are on the line with the legendary Bob Petit. If you don't know who Bob Petit is, then you don't really know basketball. This man is the first MVP of all ever. He is a 10-time All-NBA first team member, 11-time overall, 4-time All-Star MVP, still a record, first player ever to 20,000 points, retired as the all-time leading scorer and the second leading rebounder of all time. Mr. Pettit, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
I just want to say I just got off the phone today with Bobby Dandridge, and he wanted me to let you know that you inspired him. You were one of the first players that really inspired him because you did the corner shot when no one else was doing it.
Well, I'm glad to know he remembered that. That's very nice, and that also that it maybe helped him a little bit along the way.
Yeah, he's coming on next week, so yeah, I'll tell him what you said. I wanted to ask you, the first question I wanted to ask you is, back in the day, how did players, like now, trash talking is a big part of the game. How did you guys trash talk back in the day?
Well, I never did. I never said a word to anybody, actually. All I did was concentrate on trying to play. And there really was not that, as I recall, no trash talking going on. Very, very little. That I don't even remember any, as a matter of fact, that happened. We just played and played hard. There was very little relationship between teams. Today, they move around. Players move a lot. Of course, we didn't move at all, but they move around a lot. They make friends with different teams, and they have close friends on the other ball club. We didn't have that. We just stayed really within our own teammates. Our conversation, our activities away from basketball, or if we did anything, it would be with our own teammates. So we very seldom had any relationship with the other players. I remember that in 1964, I traveled behind the Iron Curtain with a team Red Auerbach put together to play some of the Olympic teams. And my roommate on that tour was Bob Cousy. And we became very good, pretty good friends over that 6-week tour behind the Iron Curtain. And so that was, and also Tommy Heinsohn was on that. 5 or 6 other players that I played against. And that was one of the few times that I'd ever had a relationship with them away from a relationship on the basketball court. So there was very little relationship, no trash talking, just concentrating on playing and winning for your team, and that was the way we handled it.
Speaking of your teammates that you said that you traveled with and you guys were very tight-knit, do you have like a specific point guard that set you up best, like a Slater Martin or a Lenny Wilkins, or was there somebody that put you like a better distributor? Who would you say is the best point guard you played with?
Well, I would say certainly in the early days, I would say be Slater Martin. The early he came in on a championship team, he would bring the ball to me. In fact, kind of an interesting story. One time we had a close game and set up a play, and Alex Hannum was the coach, and he said, "Okay, everybody thinks it's going to Pettit, but we're not going to do that. We're going to fake the Pettit, swing it over, and Cliff Hagan is going to take the jump shot to win the game." Everybody said, "Great." And I walked out on the court, and Slater told me, walked up to me, he said, "It's coming to you, big boy." So he didn't really say what the coach said. He said, "It's coming to you, big boy." And that was the way he thought. And he and I had a very special relationship with Slater. But having said that, I was fortunate enough to play also with Lenny Wilkins, I played maybe with 3 or 4 years. As I recall, one of those years that maybe 1961 or 2, he was in the service, and he played a portion a partial of the year. But he was a great ball player, and you know, and I had a very nice relationship with Lenny, and I would just go to Lenny and something say, Lenny, give me a back door. Well, that meant that I was going to go behind the guy and go for a layup, and he would bounce the ball to me, and I would shoot a layup. And Lenny was very proficient at doing that, and I thought I had a very nice relationship, a very good working relationship with Lenny, and he was a terrific guy. And so I was fortunate to play what I think with two of the really good point guards that in my era.
Yeah, and what's funny about that story is Cliff Hagan isn't a bad option for him to completely dismiss the play either.
No, Cliff would have been a great
Right,
option.
right.
Cliff was a terrific player, but Slater was going to bring me the ball. He didn't care what the coach said. Anything else is coming to you, big boy. And so, you know, you got to be ready. And I don't even remember if I made the shot or not, but he brought me the ball. And so, you know, when Cliff and I played together, I guess 9 years. We played against each other in college at Kentucky, and he was, and I was at LSU, and we were the two rivals in the Southeastern Conference in those days, and we never beat them. We played them 3 times, and we lost all 3 to Cliff and Frank Ramsey and that Kentucky team. But Cliff and I worked out with the trades that went on in the league in those days. We wound up Cliff coming with St. Louis, and so he and I were the 2 forwards for the probably 8 years that we played together, and we run together on the road, and we were really good friends, and I thought we played pretty well together. So Cliff was a great player. I mean, he was a fierce rebounder, a defensive player, and he was great to play with.
What I love,
trying to play with him than against him.
What I was going to say is what I love about Cliff Hagan is if you watch his career, his shooting percentages and free throw percentages go up as his career goes on. So that shows me he became a more proficient shooter, stayed away from bad shit, became a smarter player as well. So that was always one of my favorite things about Cliff Hagan is the trajectory. Do you watch the current game?
Some I watch it, yes, not all the time, but we have being here, living in New Orleans. You know, we have the Pelicans here, so. I was a season ticket holder for the last 5 or 6 years, but it got to the point that I just very difficult at my age now, very difficult for me to walk around up and down the stairs in the stadium. So I just watch it when I get a chance to. And as a matter of fact, the announcer from the Pelicans is from St. Louis originally, and we've become very nice friends. Joel Meyer is his name, and we've become very nice friends, and I'm going to have dinner with him tonight, as a matter of fact.
Well, my grandfather, he was born in 1934, and he grew up in St. Louis, and he was the first one that ever told me, and to be crass and to quote him, he said, "I'll tell you who was a bad motherfucker was Bob Petit." He said, "I used to go watch him all the time." He said, "That dude was great." So my grandpa had been singing your praises for years.
Nice to know. I would have to say he was a smart man. He was a nice man.
Hey, that's what.
I had a great 10 years in St. Louis. I loved it.
Well, that's what.
After I wound up living in St. Louis, I just didn't do it. I wound up coming back down to Louisiana.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. How does it feel to be a legend of a franchise that no longer plays in that city? You know, guys like Oscar Robertson, guys like Gary Payton. Does that make you feel a little underappreciated?
Well, I don't know that we're underappreciated. I would say, I played at a great time. Everybody said I should have played. Actually, the guys like you talk about Oscar, and I should have played it later on. The only reason you look and say that is because of the money involved. But I loved it, the era that I played in. I couldn't have played in a nice era for me personally. The way that I played and the help that I got from my teammates in all those years in St. Louis, and it was a great time for me. And I don't really feel that I just don't. I was wrong maybe when I retired from basketball. I walked away from it. I had a job waiting for me that I really was looking forward to going to work and working with a bank in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I was really looking forward to that. So I never looked back and say, boy, I wish I was still playing. A lot of athletes aren't that fortunate, but I was, and I walked away, and in many ways, I just shut that door, and I probably was wrong. I shouldn't have done that, but I did. So what do you say?
Well, to be honest with you, me personally, I wish you would have kept playing, because after 11 seasons, you were still, second team All-NBA? You were still a top 10 player. I wish, you would have kept playing. What made you decide to quit after season 11 being still a top 10 player?
Well, number one, in those eras, every professional athlete, basketball player, you were not making enough money from that season to retire when you finished playing. You had to have a job. And all of us in those days were thinking about, as you got older as a player, you were thinking about what are you going to do after you finish playing basketball. Well, I had an opportunity at a bank in Baton Rouge that the chairman of the board brought me in the bank. And in fact, I remember my father went with me, and we sat down and talked to him. And he said, Bob, I'd like for you to come to work with the bank for us when you retire. He said, I'll be happy for you to work 2 more years, and at that point in time, you need to come to work, or else I'm going to give the job away to somebody else. But I'll hold it for you for 2 years. Well, I said, I want it, and I'll take it. That was a great opportunity for me. It's really what I wanted to do. And so I went to St. Louis, and I told Ben Kerner, who was the owner of the Hawks in those days, said, Ben, I'm playing 2 more years, and at that point in time, I'm retired. So make your plans 2 years in advance. And that's what I did. I retired 2 years later and went right to work in Baton Rouge for the bank. And I loved what I was doing, and life went on, and I loved having played basketball. I wouldn't take anything for it. I was proud of my career, but I was also willing to walk away at the end of 11 years. I had felt that I'd done everything I was able to accomplish, and so I moved on in my life and went ahead and started my life after basketball.
Did you, being that you're one of the first, and obviously the NBA wasn't very prevalent as a child for you, didn't come about till you were in your teen years. Did you model your game after anybody, maybe like your cousin Frank Bryan or something like that? And then also part 2 of the question is there any player that reminds you of you?
Well, not really. I mean, I was a pretty good shooter, had a nice jump shot, 15, 18 feet away from the basket.
Mm-hmm.
Money mid-range game. Money.
Really off the boards. I thought I was a pretty good rebounder, and I was a good offensive rebounder.
Sir, you averaged 20 1 year. You were a great rebounder.
Well,
he was not a good rebounder. He was way better than that.
I have to stop there, right? Because it's
not.
I'm pretty good at this.
Modest.
No, you weren't. No, you weren't.
Being modest.
No, you were not a good rebounder. You were way better than that.
I've been talking to Bob Petit for the last couple of weeks, and organizing this. He's a very modest man. I would say he's the definition of a Southern gentleman.
Yeah,
that's what I get from him.
Can you imagine how a guy would talk about himself today, averaging 20 a game? I'm the greatest rebounder ever.
I was a right back. I was a right when I played. I made first team All Pro 10 straight years. Yeah, I was okay. I was good. Play a little bit. Yeah, great.
Well, wait till I was going to say, wait till I get to some of these other questions about his greatness and watch him keep downplaying them.
All right, we're about halfway through, so let's.
I was a very good offensive rebounder. A lot of my points were scored off the offensive board, fighting and pushing and scratching and clawing and getting that offensive rebound, putting it back up, getting fouled, shooting 1 or 2 free throws, depending. And so, that was kind of a different type of player in those days, a different forward. And not a lot of guys, I don't think, today concentrated on rebounding like I did. Or maybe and I put myself in a very good class when I say not like Bill Russell did. I'm not trying to say I was nearly as good a rebounder. He and Will were the 2 best of all times. But I tried to work hard and rebound, and I I took great pride in my rebounding. And so you've asked me the question of what about the players today, and I admire them. They're so talented. You watch these guys at that 3-point line. In fact, I watched a girls game yesterday, and those girls that there's a young lady from Iowa that I've never seen anybody shoot as well as she did from outside. I mean, she made 3-point shots, and some of them are so far back you couldn't believe. So they are, I think, we didn't have a 3-point shot, so none of us shot that far out. Maybe Dolph Shays was one of the few that did, but we just struggle along with our game, and I enjoyed very much playing in the era that I played.
I gotta pause there just to tell you guys an interesting story, because he said Dolph Shays was the one guy who did for the
big guy.
Yeah,
the big guy.
The big guy. And I just want to say, I don't know how many people who are listening or watching or will watch this later are younger, but if you want a cheat code in NBA 2K, because my son and I play it all the time, pick up Dolph Shays and let him sit outside and shoot threes. He never misses. That's a NBA 2K cheat code, Dolph Shays. No, I'm the only one here who plays 2K, I know.
I don't know if you remember this, but Bill Russell said this about you, because you talked about how you liked scrapping and fighting for rebounds. He said that they came up with the term second effort because of Bob Petit.
Well, that was nice. That's a very nice compliment. And coming from him, that's a great compliment. He's, we were real rivals for a period of time. And I mentioned a minute ago that we would, in our conversation, we talked about Bob Cousy rooming with me on a trip behind the Iron Curtain in 1964. Well, Bill Russell was on that trip as a player, and as one of the few times that I got to have felt like I got to know him a little bit, and spent 7 weeks with him behind the Iron Curtain, and he was. I always thought he was, and I still think he's the greatest player that's ever played. I would say that again. If I had to pick one player that I think I would want to start my team with, that would be Bill Russell at his prime. And he was a great rebounder. He averaged 21 or 22 rebounds a game.
22.5 for his career, I believe.
What was Wilt? Do you know?
Wilt is 22.9. Wilt is 23,924 rebounds, and I believe Russell is 21,660. I want to say.
Well, they were incredible. I guess you'd call it a pleasure playing against both of those gentlemen for probably between 75 and 100 times. I would have played against them over the years that I was playing. That they were incredible players, and as far as I'm concerned, Russell was the greatest.
Were you taller than Russell? Were you taller than Bill?
I don't know. I'm about the same height, I think.
Well, you were both listed at 6'9". Right.
What?
Well, you guys were both listed at 6'9". I just wondered if one of you, because a lot of people say that, they lie about NBA height. So I just wondered, as you stood next to him a lot, if you were taller or shorter than him.
I don't know. I'm about the same height, I think, pretty much. But
well, since you said, like you guys had to have a job and all that, and I know weightlifting was a big thing about yours. You talked about how you led the league in scoring and rebounding, and you said the only thing I thought to do was get stronger, so you started a weightlifting regimen.
Oh, I just wanted to say this. I just want to say this on the interview. When I asked him who's taller, and you couldn't really hear it, he said, "I don't know, but I know he jumped higher." That's what he said. That's what he said in that response. So, but you didn't hear it.
That's fun.
Weightlifting regimen. Could you talk about that and what players did to stay in shape in the off season, being that there was no trainers and things like that?
Well, in 1956, 57 season, I won some awards in the NBA. I was the MVP in the NBA, and I think I was a leading scorer and what have you. I got home and I thought to myself, what can I do to improve, to get better? And I said, the best thing I can do is get stronger. I was 6'9", and I weighed about 220 pounds. And I said, I need to be stronger. And so I went to a trainer in Baton Rouge that trained with a lot of the football players, and I had a lot of confidence in him. And I said, Alvin, his name was Alvin Roy. I said, Alvin, I would like to get stronger, but I don't want to end it the way I do. He said, Bob, if you want to come work with me, I will make you stronger, and it will not affect your shooting one bit. Well, the first thing everybody thinks of in those days, if you start lifting weights, you're going to you get muscle bound and you can't shoot.
Bulky.
And he said that will absolutely not be a situation. No way I can get to be muscle bound anyway. So I started lifting weights in the off season, and to my knowledge, I was the first basketball player of any era that ever started lifting weights. This was in 1956, 57. I asked Wilt one time, and I know he lifted weights, and he would have been sometime around that. But he didn't think he was before that. He lifted them before I started. So it was, I went from 6'9" and 215 to 220 up to 245. And over a period of 3 years or 4 years. And then all of a sudden it affected me mentally to the point that I enjoyed the pushing and shoving and all the things like that went on under the basket, fighting for position. And so I was really pleased with what exercise with weights did for me. And I think all the players do it. I don't think there's probably any player in the league that doesn't lift weights or exercise with them.
No.
I will say I was the first, I do believe.
So I'm stronger. So I'm stronger, and it's affected me negatively. Why? Because I want to start pushing some people around a little bit more. That's what I want to do. That's what it sounds like he's saying. But I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it to the point where I'm hurting people, but I want to throw my weight around a little bit more.
Well, Bob told me he likes the contact. He likes physical play. He likes the contact.
Wow. Put on 20 more pounds of diesel. Imagine, Bob, if you can imagine, I would love to have talked to him, because if you can imagine, Bob, the weightlifting that you were doing, which was probably in a barn. So if you can imagine, like, being in a first-class weight facility where they weighed you, checked your body fat percentage, put you on a diet, stuff that you could eat, stuff that you couldn't eat, actually trained you to make you run faster, how much better do you think you would have been?
Why am I picturing? I'm just picturing. Why am I picturing Bob Pettit in a barn like Rocky and Rocky 4?
Yes, like lifting horse stables and stuff like that.
Well, I say this on the show all the time. I say you take all these players, and if you take Bob Pettit, instead of born in 1932, he's born in 2002 with training in YouTube, in drills, and all that. Does he still have the talent to make the NBA? I don't know. I would say yes. I don't know. Obviously, I don't think he's 19th on my list of greatest players of all time. I don't think he's a top 20 player of all time, but I still think he makes it. Guys like Slater Martin, I don't think they make it, but that's the example. And I tell people that when they're like, they would kill in that era. Well, if you took players now and you put them back in that era, there's no training, there's no food, there's no per diem, there's there's no private planes, there's no Xbox, there's no streaming, there's no phone. How well do you think they'd really do in that era?
Wait, give them those shoes.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't do it.
Ass Converse, those Chucks. Come on.
I think Michael Jordan popularized game day lifting, but I knew you were the first one I ever heard of lifting weights. I didn't know if there was anyone else. I got about 5 more questions for you because I know you got to go. Can I ask you why you and Jim Krebs got into that fight?
I don't remember.
He's 100 years old, bro.
There was a lot more fighting,
Mm-hmm.
and I think and I'm not going to say the old days, but in the years that I was in the NBA,
Mm-hmm.
it seemed a lot of games wound up fighting. Actually punches being thrown.
Right.
I don't see a lot of that today. They're very physical, but I don't see a lot of actual punching fighting like I saw in 1954 to 1965.
Well, it's like
I don't have any idea what happened with Jim Krebs or with anybody else that I got to fight with.
Well, it's like
I didn't like to fight. I wanted to play. I wanted to be left alone.
I got
went out there to fight.
Can you rank these feelings? Like, what's the most special, since most of us will never experience it? Is like winning a title the best feeling, making the Hall of Fame, and MVP? What is the best feeling out there?
I'm sorry, you have to repeat that. I didn't understand that question. I'm sorry.
I said, what feeling is the best in a basketball career? Is it winning a title? Is it winning an MVP? Is it winning Hall of Fame? Is it going into the Hall of Fame? Like, what is the best feeling that you experienced throughout your career?
Well, I think the greatest feeling was winning a championship in 1958. That would have been, that would have been the feeling. All the other things were nice and were wonderful honors and what have you, but nothing compared to winning that championship. And that's probably the highlight of my basketball career.
Does any loss stick with you? That game, what was it, in the 57 finals, where they threw the ball all the way across court, bounced it off the backboard, you caught it, and it just kind of rimmed out? Is that like a loss that stays with you, or is there any losses that stay with you?
I don't really like to think about that one.
Gotcha.
That was a really wild play, and Alex Hannum called a timeout. He was coaching, as I recall it. I mean, he put himself in a game. He said, "Okay, I'm going to throw the ball the length of the court from under the backboard, the other end. Throw it there, bounce off the rim. It's going to bounce off the backboard. Bob, you get it to the top of the circle. It's going to come there." I thought, "What are you smoking?" I mean, I couldn't believe he even attempted that. I mean, the son of a gun, he did just what he said. Big curve, threw it the length of the court, hit the rim, bounced out to me, and I went up and caught it. We only about 2 seconds left in the game, and I caught it, shot it in, and rolled around the rim and rolled out. And but that was an incredible play, and I've never heard of it before or since.
I haven't either.
But I'm telling you, when he called that play, I thought he was out of his mind. But he did just what he said. It was amazing. Except I didn't make it. That would have been the cream on it if I'd have done that.
I had a question from a fan of yours, and they wanted to ask you like this very, very specifically. And it says, how does it feel to be retired for 60 years and still easily be the greatest Hawks player by far?
I never thought about that. I don't know. I don't know how it feels. I don't know that I would be. There was some great players with the Hawks, and they moved to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a nice, really good team there, and some great players. And Dominique Wilkins was one of the great players in the Hawks, and I would Lou Hudson I mean, I don't know that I would classify myself as being special.
So let's pause there for a second.
Whoa.
Who is the greatest Atlanta or / St. Louis Hawk of all time?
Milwaukee.
/ Milwaukee. Who's the greatest Hawk? I'll just say that. Who's the greatest Hawk of all time?
Bob Petit.
Bob Petit.
By far.
It is.
And you know how I feel about Neek.
I know. That's your favorite player.
Yes, it's Bob Petit.
It's Bob.
Okay, I'm going to say it's Trae Young.
But that was nice comment. I appreciate somebody thinking that.
Also lately, guys like JJ Redick and Gilbert Arenas, they've been disrespectful towards your era, calling you guys like plumbers and things like that. I'm one of your advocates saying that, if you guys had trainers and were able to do basketball and focus on that 24/7 instead of getting jobs, obviously you guys would be much better. How do you feel about players that like dismiss what you guys did back in the 50s and 60s and really laid the groundwork for what we're doing now?
Well, I would not agree with that particularly, because when a lot of us that we have times like in Cleveland a couple of 3 years ago, they brought in 75 players that were the top 75 of 75 years, and all of the players that are the current players that I talked to all respected what we did.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of them. I can remember Charles Barkley saying, "Well, we thank what you guys did for us and helping the league to build a way we can enjoy the benefits." So I think basically the earlier players are generally respected for what they did for the game and to let it help build it up to where it is. targeted specifically at J.J. Redick. And I thought he made a stupid comment about Bob Cousy. And I swear that I've never seen any other comment about, you talk about the plumbers and the pipe fitters and what have you. I've never seen any comment other than what he said about Cousy. And Cousy was one of the great players in the history of the NBA. You know, he did so much for basketball. He founded the Players Association in 1955. We had an all-star game in my first year in New York, and he had called a meeting of the players that went to the all-star game, had a lawyer there, and founded to start the Players Association. And so, to say something like that about a great player, a great person, and a person who's meant so much for basketball, I thought was stupid. And it's no reason for something like that, other than you trying to show how smart you are, maybe. But, there's no room for something like that, I don't think. And I think that's, what I'm trying to say is I don't think that's generally how the players today would feel about the Oscar Robertsons and the Jerry West, the Elgin Baylors, the Russells, and Chamberlains, and all those guys that played in the era that we played many years ago. I thought it was somebody that was trying to get special attention for themselves because they're supposedly becoming an analyst. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, no, like I said,
that's supposedly becoming an analyst.
He's shooting. Shots were fired.
Shots fired.
I felt it. Yeah. Felt that one.
Too, by the way. And he hit too. Yes, he did. And he hit.
I created this history of NBA podcast because I'm tired of the disrespect, and I was born in '84, so I didn't see any of you guys play, but I knew you guys were great. For example, you averaged 31 and 19 one year and came in 6th in MVP voting. So just show you how great it was. This is my second to last question for you.
What are we talking about?
You got anything about Neil Johnston? I've got a lot of people they want to know about some anecdotes or maybe something that we don't know.
Ridiculous what I'm listening to right now. He's doing 30 and 20, and he finished not even in the top 5 in league MVP votes. What's going on? Am I in the Matrix? What is happening right now?
Lummers.
This ain't life.
30 and 20. What's happening right now? Like if you turn on ESPN or if you turn on NBA TV and you heard that a dude went 30 and 20 last night, that's headline news. I did that on a Tuesday.
And then I did it on a Wednesday.
On Thursday.
Hey, you know what's crazy?
Not only did I do that on a Wednesday, I had to get on a train, by the way, the next night.
Or raggedy bus.
You know what's crazy? That means if you held Bob Petit to 25 and 15, you did a damn good job.
What's happening right now? I'm in the Matrix. I'm for real in the Matrix right now. I gotta be.
Know about Neil Johnston?
Well, when I came in the league, Neil Johnston and Paul Anderson with Philadelphia, and Neil Johnston had a great hook shot that he could take, and he scored an awful lot of points on that. And, that hook shot went out the window when Bill Russell came in.
Right.
And so I don't know what happened to Neil. I don't know after he left basketball, but I'll tell you, when I came in, he was a heck of a player. And he was, I guess, 2 or 3 years probably the leading scorer in the league. You would know that better than I remember that.
Yeah.
He was a terrific center and for the Philadelphia teams. And I don't know much more than that. Having played against him, he retired, somewhere while I was still playing. And I haven't kept in touch with him, but don't know what happened to him. But I know this: he was a heck of a player. And
that year that if I'm not mistaken, now it's coming back to me. That year that you brought up, that Bob Petit, he went 32. He went 32 and 19 that year.
31 and 19.
31 and 19. That's the same. I'm in the Matrix. I have to be, because that's the same year that Elgin Baylor went 38 and 18. He finished 4th in league MVP votes. That's 40 and 20.
Wait a minute. That's also the year Oscar.
wasn't he going to do? Wasn't he working like for the Army, the reserves or whatever on the weekends?
Yes.
He only played 55 games that year, 56 games, because he had a weekend gig.
And that's also the year that Oscar Robertson averaged a triple-double and Wilt averaged 50 and 25, and none of them won the MVP.
Is that the greatest season in NBA history?
It might be.
It is the greatest individual statistical performance in NBA history.
It might be. It might be.
It's that year, right? 62. 62.
That's not even an argument. You can't even argue that. The numbers say it. It is the greatest individual statistic performance.
Sadly, there's only 4 minutes of this left, but let me ask you a question that I wish I would have asked you beforehand. Did you ask him at all about like the fact that the Hawks had the draft rights, I guess, the draft pick to get Bill Russell?
No. I had it on my list. I had that. There's two questions I missed out on. I missed that one, and I missed what he thought of Maurice Stokes. Those are the ones that I just didn't get to, and I'm really upset. So I don't know. Maybe down the road I'll try to ask him again. If he wants to come on again, love to have him on. But those are the two questions I missed out. I forgot to ask. They were in my notes, and as I'm scrolling through my notes, I just I skipped them, forgot them.
No. Let me just say, even though we're 4 minutes in, and I didn't want to save it to the end, I just want you to know, I'm saying this on air live with everybody watching, you're a really good interviewer. Just want to put that out there. Okay.
That's a name out of the past that you don't think about much, but when you bring his name up, you remember how good he was.
And then my last question is kind of like a two-parter. One, did anybody D you up good? Like, were there any problems you had other than like Bill Russell? I mean, I would assume he played D on you the best, but was there anybody else that was really good? And secondly, Russell was 11-1 in the finals. Did you ever give him any shit? Be like, you're 11-1 and I'm that one.
No, I never did. I never did mention it. If you thought at that time in 1958, that would have been the only one of the championships that we would have been. I would have thought we'd have won several more, but the team disintegrated. The owners, they got what happens. They got older and stopped playing, and the team split up, and so we and Boston became better and stronger. And I have to give the devil his due. Red Auerbach was a great judge of talent, I thought. And he was ahead of the league in many respects. The number one was drafting. And I think I'm correct in this, and you may know, but that he drafted some players when they were juniors in college instead of waiting until their senior year. For instance, I know Cliff Hagan and Frank Ramsey, and I think he drafted them. I think Larry Bird, he probably drafted.
Larry Bird's correct as well.
Larry Bird's the big, at least of our generation. That's the big one, right? Where he drafts him 6th overall a year earlier. And then he still plays a year of college before coming in like that. Red Auerbach was definitely ahead of his time.
Is that correct?
Yeah, Larry Bird's correct as well.
And then also there was a great player that didn't play, but Len Bias from Maryland, who he drafted as a junior. So Auerbach was, really ahead of a lot of the other owners or coaches in the league. And he was a great judge of talent, and he was able to motivate the players. Which was, you're dealing with all these different egos, and Red Auerbach could really handle them. The great coaches in the league that can deal with the different egos and still get the guys to play as hard as they could. And Red Auerbach was very good at doing that.
No, I agree with you. And I wanted to thank you, Mr. Pettit. We're out of time on this. I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to do this. You have my number. You are welcome back on the show anytime you want. If you still talk to Bob Cousy, you tell him he's welcomed on the show too. We respect him over here and all that he did as well.
I call him on his
Will
birthday.
you let him know Tony over here at the Hoopstorians appreciated what he did, and tell him that he's welcomed on the pod anytime. And thank you so much.
Tony.
Okay. Thank you. You have a good day. Bye.
Gotta love the Bobs.
That was fantastic, yo. That was great. I enjoyed every bit of that. No question about it. I found out a lot about. That's the idea of an interview, though. It's to inform people. It's for people to get to know about other people. That's stuff about Bob Pettit that I did not know, and the fact that he put on more weight in order to get stronger, and like the fact that he was 6'9", 245. Just so you know, Malone played at 6'9", 250. So that was awesome. Yes, that was awesome. I definitely enjoyed that.
Any other takeaways? Like you got to do
No.
it with.
Well, I want to say this real quick. Yeah, we were getting spammed real quick, and we accidentally deleted one of our followers, and I'm trying to fix that right now.
I'm going in the back end and fixing that right now. You keep doing that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
no, like I said,
when you're getting up, it's becoming a popular show when you're getting all these bots, all this bot traffic.
Yeah.
Oh well, that's
my takeaway.
like,
just real quick, my takeaway is that's the heart of a winner. Like, whether he has all of the titles to back it, but that right there, that's the formula that it takes to be a winner. Everything that he was talking about from training and everything like that, because what we're hearing from him physically getting stronger is it made him mentally stronger too. It made him more ready for what was going on in the league. So a lot of players can take, while we're talking about their plumbers and how old they are, a lot of players can take a page from their books and they can use it nowadays, and it'll equate to a longer career or maybe more success these days. So my takeaway from that is you can learn from the vets, you can learn from the elders. So that's my takeaway. Don't count nobody out just because of what era they played in.
Yeah, that was great, for real. That was fantastic. I enjoyed that. So, hey fellas, I gotta bounce. It was dope to see you guys tonight. Tone, I will see you guys soon. Thanks for that. That was awesome. I'll try to get on with when Bob Dandridge shows up. I'll try to get on for that. But thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
No, like I said, I think Bob Pettit's one of the greatest. If you don't have Bob Pettit in your top 20 as greatest of all time, I don't know what to tell you. He's the first MVP, greatness. First to 20,000, greatness. You know, he's got everything you want in a star player. He has the stats, he has the awards, he has the ring. I don't know if we're talking greatness.
No ego.
Huh?
You feel me?
No
ego on top of that.
No ego.
I'm gonna leave you with this super chat. I'm gonna mute for a second. I'm gonna go figure out how to unblock Woodage. Woodage, I'm sorry.
Oh no.
That's my fault. I'll go fix it. I'll go fix it right now.
Yeah, he's our dude. Yeah, he's a okay.
Yeah, I be seeing him in here.
So hey, how many points do you think Allen Iverson would average today, Neek? This is your dude. He's one of your favorites.
I say Iverson is averaging at least 40 these days, especially when we're seeing within recent years that players can average like 36. And in my opinion, they don't have the hardest Iverson. They may have they may be more talented, have more in their bag as far as their effective shooting. But at the same time, if Iverson would have got himself in the gym, which I'm pretty sure eventually he would have been forced into it. So I feel like Iverson would have eventually developed a fairly decent 3-point shot as well. So I see Iverson averaging like 40, at least 40 in this era, to be honest.
So it depends. If he plays like he played in the 90s and in the 2000s and all that, he'd be a bench player. He'd be a bench player. You can't have a guy who shoots 38% in his prime shoot 28 times a game. Nowadays, you won't win the game. And he can have all the heart in the world, but the other team will have more points at the end of the game. So you just can't shoot 28 times a game, shoot 38%.
But that don't mean he's gonna be a bench player though. He could still be the best player on that team. So I don't see Iverson being a bench player, especially with how offensively aggressive he is. Like we see all kinds of.
If he's on the Warriors, is he starting?
Maybe not on the Warriors, but that's because the Warriors is usually a stacked team.
Right? Is he starting on the Celtics?
Another stacked team.
Right. So I mean, so you got
a bull.
All right. So here's my issue. One, by any means, what's up? Two, Woodage, can you please say something in the comments? I unblocked you. My bad. There's so many bots. I just accidentally clicked on you as well. Number three, most importantly, I hate this question. Sports PSP, you know you're my guy, but I hate this question, and here's why I hate this question. Because when you ask questions like how many would Iverson score in this era or Jordan score in this era, thank you, Woodage, I'm glad you're back. This person, that. Here's the problem. You're asking the wrong question, because how many points would Allen Iverson average today? Well, it depends, like you guys just been talking about. Well, what team is he on? What are they asking him to do? Could he score 40 points in today's NBA? Absolutely. Is his team going to win? No. Are they make deep playoff runs? No. Are they going to win a championship? No. But he could average 40, but he'd probably be better suited averaging 20. Right? Could Jordan could Jordan average 50 in today's game? Yeah, he absolutely could. Would his team win? No. Would they make deep playoff runs? No. Right? So that's the thing. Like that's why I don't like this question, is because in reality, Iverson in today's era, the way he played then, would be a bench player because he's super inefficient and he can't shoot threes. However, if Iverson grew up 20 years later, he would have been forced to learn to shoot the three at his size, and he would develop a three. And it's all super hypothetical, but I would suggest he'd be a better 3-point shooter. I believe that would mean that he would drive less. I would believe that would mean he would be, if he was on a good team where he didn't have to shoot so much, where let's remember, certain guys, Iverson was put on a team and they said, hey, we've got bigs, we've got shot blockers, we've got rebounders, you're our offensive guy. And that's how teams were built. Just go shoot 100 times a game, score as much as you can. That's what we need from you. Kobe was very much like that too, to a different level, mind you. But that's what I'm saying, is like, I think it was the role that he would use. If I had Allen Iverson, he could be an efficient scorer. He was just in a situation where he wasn't. So that's why I don't like that question. I know there's a long-winded answer, but that's why I don't like that question.
Okay, it's got a better question for. Okay, let's see the better question.
I love Sports PSP. That's why I like Sports.
Better
PSP.
question: where would you rank AI with today's players? So does
Okay.
I mean, I'm so analytical. I have to start going through teams, and to give you an exact rank. If you really want that, I can do that.
Okay. Is he a top 10 guard right now?
Top 10 guard. Okay, so let's just go off that. I would have Booker over him. I would have Curry over him. I would have, let's just go through the teams. And we got the Clippers. We got the Clippers. Yeah, Luka, if you want to. I consider him a small forward, but yeah, if you want to have Luka at the Clippers. Kyrie's a better player than him. Who else do we got? We got who's on the Clippers then? Paul George sometimes plays 2 guard. Do you want to count him? You want to count James Harden on the Lakers?
How about this? Let's make it fair. Of the small guards, so Curry, Trey, Booker. Not that he's small. Donovan Mitchell. Like, is he?
I have him over Donovan Mitchell.
I have him over Donovan and Trey.
I don't have him over Trey because Trey's got a 3-point shot.
I figured as much.
But I can see if you got him over there as well. But yeah, I got him over. I'll tell you this much: I have been on this over and over again. Donovan Mitchell is ass in the playoffs. Every year, his field goal percentage drops, except in the bubble. And I'll put it this way: if you play well in the bubble and you've never played anywhere else well, then that means that the bubble obviously affected you in a positive way. One year he shot 32% in the playoffs, and so I am not a Donovan Mitchell guy in that as far as in the playoffs go, because he keeps over and over. And I tried telling you all that about last year when you guys were pumping him up the Cavs in the playoffs. And I was like, nah, bro, he drops in the playoffs every year. And what'd he do?
It's interesting. My difficulty with Iverson is one of my favorite players of all time. And let's be clear when I say favorite, right? There's a distinction between favorite, best, great. He's one of my favorite players of all time. He still has my ankles from one time that we played against each other, and he crossed me over so bad that I believe that's why I got injured and never played again. So there's a whole lot of respect for Allen Iverson, but the way that he was forced to play, it's tough to put him into this era because it doesn't suit the way that it's played today. And so, but I think I know how good his skill set was. I know how fast he was. I know that he could shoot. And I know that in an era where you couldn't touch him, with the lane being more open than it's ever been, dude would be he would be a problem. Like, we forget how super athletic he was. I still think pound for pound, he's one of the best players ever, pound for pound. And so that's why it's like it's so tough because I get the knock against him, but I also know all the positives with him. And so like this is actually a really, really good point that and I'm not just bringing this up because I accidentally blocked him, but Iverson always had a coach that didn't respect him, right? We know Larry Brown, like that's just me and Chill get into this all the time when I say if Detroit would have drafted Carmelo, he would have been a top 10 player all time. And he's like, no, Larry Brown would have ruined him because he doesn't like young players. Well, Larry Brown and others, Doug Collins, people forget. Doug Collins, you know how much coaching experience Doug Collins had before he became head coach of the Bulls? Goose egg, none. So yeah, he was a player's coach. He came in and he loved Mike. So yeah, I think that's right. I'm gonna leave you. I'm gonna take this one last question with you, but then I gotta bounce. I don't know if you guys are gonna keep going later, but
no, we're gonna bounce ourselves. We're over the hour. Should DJ Burns from? I'll tell you what, that Duke could not stop him. Now I don't know if that translates to the next level, but what I watched him do on Easter against Duke, and I'll tell you this much: I don't watch college basketball. I do two things in college basketball: I root for U of A, and I root against Duke. And after that, I really don't care. So watching him destroy Duke was one of my favorite college moments ever this Sunday. They couldn't stop that dude. And all his shots, I mean, he looked out of breath, dragging, but I mean, he was clearly, keep going, and like it didn't stop me on the block, the little hezzy shoulder, the hook, the baby hook. They couldn't stop him. So I don't know how tall he looked short for a post. He looked about 6'7", 6'8". I don't know how tall he is. I don't know if he should go to the NFL. I've never seen him play football, so I don't have that answer. But I know Duke couldn't stop him.
But I would say undersized guys aren't afraid. You're not afraid of undersized guys anymore. So I think NBA, no problem. Look, give him a professional trainer. Who knows what he can do? If you root for Duke, by the way, you're a Dookie, and my kids always giggle because Dookie is, what they call that.
Got a comparison. Is he Mike Sweeten? Hey, wait a minute. I got a comparison. Is he Mike Sweeten?
What?
I said, is he Mike Sweeten? Yeah, is he him? Because he was a little undersized in height, but way oversized in weight, and then he didn't really translate to the NBA.
I think, but 6'9" is now the kind of the average center is 6'9". So can he go out and give you like Oliver Miller minutes?
Hey, let me tell you something. Let me tell you one of my favorite quotes of all time. Charles Barkley once said this: Oliver Miller would be an all-star in this league if he could just learn 2 words. I'm full.
I knew that was coming. He was
awesome. He was so talented. That dude was awesome.
I challenge people who don't know, go back and watch. One, he had this ridiculous wingspan.
Because he was short. He was 6'9". He was short.
But I think he had like an 8-foot wingspan.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Go watch him pass.
The wraparound back pass. The wraparound back pass from the post.
His arms are so long. He was such a good passer, and I think he's right. But anyway, so I'm gonna
we're gonna end it right here because, like I said, we did the show. We're over the hour. So unless you got anything you want to say, Neek?
Nah, y'all be safe out there. Much love. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, as we always say at the end, it is at the end. So
I hit the gate and I hops on my Schwinn, and I tell the homies, all right then, yeah.
Hey.
That's why we get all those
fractions. All right, then. Well, hey, you know what? I tried calling Warren G to get his permission to use it. I couldn't get a hold of him. So if you want to get a hold of him, I also talked. Speaking of Doug Collins, I did talk to his wife not too long ago. She said she'd pass along the message.
Nice.
Does Warren G own that song?
I believe so.
That was Warren G.
No. I know who it is. I said, does he own that song?
I don't know, but he could tell you who does.
Fair enough. All right. Give him a shout.
So anyways, all right, then please like, subscribe. Please check us out tomorrow where we will be dropping